Hey, Minnesota Vikings fans. You are tuned into the Purple People Podcast Live. We thank you all for joining us this week. I am Kyle West, accompanied by Adam Carlson
I'm
and
here
Kyle
again.
Smith. We got
Right
both
back
of
here.
you. Yeah. You're,
Exciting show this week. We got a lot of draft stuff to talk about.
we have the first real show with substance. Not that our other ones are, usually light, but this is like actual football talk. This isn't speculation. This is
Yeah,
actual news.
the other 199 episodes were all crap, and number 200 is where it's at.
This is our
Being
200th
patient.
episode, too.
That's right, number 200.
Mm-hmm.
And this one's titled Don't Treadwell on Me.
I dig it.
I dig it too.
Mm-hmm.
But before we start talking about the draft, as always, quick hits, get those out of the way.
Hit him, Adam.
Yep,
Hit 'em.
USA Today, they ranked every team based on their offseason. That includes free agent moves, the players they let walk, the players they brought in, re-signings, draft picks, all that kind of stuff. And USA Today said the Minnesota Vikings had the fifth best offseason, and I can see it. They did pretty well. They addressed the major areas of need, brought in players at positions where they needed some competition. They might have missed on a few prospects that I felt were better in my opinion, but then again, I'm not the person in charge, so I can't make those calls. But overall, the Vikings did a good job of improving an already good roster, so it's nice to see USA Today recognize that.
Got a little bit of the purple bias coming in here with this next statement, but that's okay. I think the Vikings had an excellent offseason. I am really pleased with all the moves they did on retaining talent. I think they did an excellent job of bringing in free agents that will contribute without overpaying for someone else's, you know, guys that are just too much hype for what the contract's going to be, for what they will actually produce. They did a good job of bringing in ones that I'm really super excited about, and I like the draft picks as well too, and where they went with it. I love the way they're building this team up.
You just love Boone.
I do. I love Alex Boone. I love that signing. That's awesome. That's great.
There were a couple signings that I thought were head scratchers. There was a free agent brought in, linebacker, that will be lucky to make the team as a special teamer. Then you got Michael Griffin, who I don't get. I don't get it. I talked about it before, and I still don't get it. I still am not sure he's even going to make the roster, but we'll talk about that probably during training camp when we got our competition shows going on. But for now, more quick hits. Fifth-year option time rolled around, and players on their rookie deals entering the final year of their contracts are offered a fifth-year option by the squad if the squad wants to, and they've decided to take up that option on cornerback Xavier Rhodes and defensive tackle Sharif Floyd. Congratulations to those two guys, picking up the fifth-year option, making some extra cash, and showing the squad that they're a valuable part of the team going forward.
Mm-hmm. Is anyone surprised that they got their fifth-year option picked up for these two? I'm not. These guys are the big part of the future for the Minnesota Vikings is going to be within these two, especially Xavier Rhodes. We continue to need him to make strides and produce and be a shutdown corner for this team. You'll notice, absent from this quick hit, Cordero Patterson. The team did not pick up the fifth year for his contract. Also, should not surprise anyone because he hasn't done anything to warrant that.
He's a good kick returner.
Sure. I make good applesauce. That doesn't mean I deserve I do. That doesn't mean I deserve a fifth-year option on my contract either, right?
Can we change the name of the episode? Can we change the name of the episode to Applesauce?
Sure, we sure can.
Bacon pancakes, that's what it's all about. Moving along here, we've got the mast being installed for the Viking ship outside U.S. Bank Stadium. This is another big step in making what should be an iconic stadium for the Minnesota Vikings moving forward, and for the rest of Minneapolis. I mean, that stadium is massive, and it could be a huge moneymaker for the city and the state.
I got to gloat to one of my friends who, one of her big character flaws is that she's a Packer fan, and so I always got to give her shit for being a Packer fan. And so we were back in town hanging out, and I got to gloat that, our names, the three of us, are on the legacy brick that's going to be on that ship, probably on that ship, that's outside the stadium. And I'm like, we are like a tangible part of the Minnesota Vikings facility from now until the end of time, whenever this thing gets torn down. And I'm like, you Packers fans have like a pretend piece of paper that says that you're a shareholder on the team. I'm like, we have actual bricks with our name on it. I'm like, yeah, take that.
But wait, she's a shareholder. Aww.
Shareholder.
I'm a part owner.
Bless her heart, she's only kind of a casual fan. She didn't even know what I was talking about with the shareholder stuff. What? Like, never mind. Never mind.
Those casual fans, I tell you. I live in the country where there's Lions fans everywhere, but they probably can't name 4 people on the roster.
Megatron. Wait.
They'd probably still say him, to be honest.
Wait.
They'd probably say
Barry Sanders still
Joey
playing?
Harrington too, so who knows? I swear everybody around here has a Joey Harrington jersey. Everybody.
Ball game, Joey Harrington.
Adrian Peterson committed $100,000.
The way you said that, I thought you were gonna have the word felony afterwards.
Oh, come on.
The way you started it out, it's like Adrian Peterson commits a felony.
No.
No, he did good things. He did good things.
He did. He gave some money to a Texas flood victim, and he asked fans to join in the cause and donate some money. You can go on over to the Vikings.com website, and you can help out some of the people dealing with the floods down in Texas. Which is a good thing to do if you like those humanitarian efforts and you want to pitch in and help out people in need.
Mm-hmm.
Always good.
The cool thing about that story is it's Palestine, Texas. I think it's where he's from. So he's always been very, very good about going and helping out that specific town and representing where he came from. So good on you, AP. I like that. That was a good piece.
He loves his hometown, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
It's cool.
Yeah, that news didn't get a whole lot of attention either, so I was kind of surprised about that. But it's a pretty nice donation.
It's good news.
I know it's not. For him, it's probably not a massive amount of money, but that can make a big difference down there.
Oh, of course.
And then finally in the quick hits, we've got some jersey number changes. I believe we talked last week about Jerick McKinnon changing from 31 to 21, but we also have Kenrick Ellis changing from 72 to 66, and Asame Fasciane moving from 76 to 69.
Jared Allen's number. Former number.
Will forever be his number.
Forever.
That's all the quick hits we got. If you were one of those people out there with a Kenrick Ellis jersey, I feel sorry for you because not only do you have a pretty rare jersey to start with, but it's probably also on date now.
Or if you're like me and you have the Jerick McKinnon 31 jersey that you just bought, that of course he's going to change it to 21. Of course he is.
Everybody out there was hoping that Willie Beavers was going to have the number 69 jersey.
Yes.
He should have got it. Come on, have a sense of humor, Mr. Beavers.
That was like all I saw on Twitter as soon as they drafted Willie Beavers. But speaking of the draft, Mr. West wanted to handle the draft picks, so
I was just going to say, we need to segue into the fun part of the show. Well, quick hits are always fun, too, but this is the part I'm really looking forward to. The 2016 Minnesota Vikings draft picks. Because this is exciting. This is one of my favorite episodes that we do. That's one of my favorite times of year as well. So I'm sure everyone out there listening to the podcast, you guys already know who we picked, but we're going to go through it anyway, and we're going to give a little bit of our quick thoughts, our hot take, if you will, on each one of these guys. So we're going to start out with our round 1 pick, number 23 overall, Laquan Treadwell, the wide receiver from Ole Miss. Going to wear jersey number 11. I got on my Dante Culpepper jersey as well.
There you go.
For this week's episode. Yeah, another former famous number 11.
Your Mike Wallace jersey?
I don't have a Mike Wallace jersey. I knew better than to buy one.
The thing about Laquan Treadwell is, as listeners know, he wasn't my top wide receiver on the board. I believe he was the 3rd wide receiver drafted in the draft. But he does offer a lot of things that are really good for Teddy Bridgewater. He's got that size, the catch radius. the steady hands. He's got a lot of good things going for him, and I think he can really help out this passing game.
Can I jump in? I just got to tell you, this is my guy I wanted. No, nothing against what you were saying, Adam. I think he was fourth actually, though. Cleveland did Cleveland things and took Corey Coleman, which is fine. I think he reminds everybody of Percy Harvin. And then we had historic things happen in the draft where 3 picks in a row. We had 3 wide receivers go. I don't know if it's the injury that happened, but if you guys didn't already know, I mean, he broke his leg as a sophomore, came back his junior year, and he still put up big numbers. So I love the resilience that he has, the size. He blocks on the run, which I know no one cares about for a receiver, but for this team, that's fantastic. He's just got everything that we've been missing, and I don't know. He was my guy that I wanted, and I think for 23, the value that was there, I think he was a steal.
The biggest knock on him is his speed. But if you take a look at a lot of things going on, sports science, they measure how fast a wide receiver can get going, his acceleration from the line of scrimmage to 10 yards out. And of all the wide receivers they tested, including, I believe, 3 of the top 4 drafted, Treadwell had the fastest acceleration, which proves that in and out of those cuts, he'll be able to get separation better, even though he doesn't reach that top speed faster. And I think that is what's going to be great for Teddy.
Rick Spielman had a good quote. Rick Spielman had a good quote in his presser where he was asked about his speed, and he said that if it was solely about speed, you would draft all the guys on the Olympic running team. But you don't, because there's a little bit more to the position than just simply running fast in a straight line.
Gotta go fast.
If it was just about speed, Cordero Patterson would be doing phenomenal for us.
You ain't first, you're last.
Yeah. I love the Treadwell pick. I think he fits with the team really incredibly well. He fits with the kind of receiver that I think Teddy will mesh with. And so that should equal some good productions. I know out there's been a lot of fans, and there have been some even media speculation as well, too, that he could possibly hit 1,000 yards receiving for the team this year. I am, and I think we talked about this a little behind the scenes, Adam, I'm less concerned about one player hitting 1,000 yards and just more overall for let's have good production for multiple receivers and let's have him be a good red zone target for Teddy Bridgewater.
Increase that red zone efficiency. That is the big thing. Teddy Bridgewater has been able to pick up first downs on 3rd and long, 3rd and medium. Adrian Peterson's been able to put him in decent position to be able to pick those up as well. All they need is they need to be able to execute when they get down in the red zone, and Treadwell could be a guy that could really help with that, especially if they use him and Kyle Rudolph together. They could have those 2 big targets and kind of feed off each other back and forth a little bit.
Mm-hmm. And, I was talking to my friend Mike that I always go up to Mankato with every year. We're both big Vikings fans. He's been a Vikings fan for a long time. And we were saying how, Laquan is not Randy Moss, and that's okay. You don't need to necessarily have that style receiver to fit with Teddy Bridgewater. And he reminds me a little bit of Jake Reed and how he can be utilized with this team. And I think that is just a fantastic addition to this offense.
But who needs Randy Moss when you got the German Randy Moss?
Oh, we'll get to Mobo here in a little bit, Adam. Let's move on to our round 2, number 54 overall pick.
My favorite pick.
Mackenzie Alexander, the cornerback. Going to wear jersey number 20 for Minnesota.
That surprised a lot of people. Mm-hmm. They were not expecting Minnesota to go cornerback. Thankfully, I did my research over at the Viking Age, and I saw him as a late first, early second round pick. And when he was still available for the Vikings, there was no way that he wasn't the top available player on their charts. There's no possible way. The lack of production as far as interceptions is what worried a lot of people. And sure, he didn't get an interception through college, but he also didn't have a lot of balls thrown his way, and he also didn't allow a touchdown, I believe, for 2 seasons straight.
And if you guys listen to Mike Zimmer, when he talks to the media, he does not care about number of interceptions. To him, getting a pass, of course he wants interceptions, but having passes deflected is just as important to him.
The media had a field day with him wearing number 20, that Chris Cook number.
Nah. Superstition, I don't care what jersey number he wears.
You know, I'm a homer for the Carolinas because I'm from there. Clemson had a fantastic year, even though they didn't win the national game. They went to it, and the kid hasn't had a touchdown on him in like 23 college games. They played against Alabama, and you got to think they're not really a passing style team. But even when you're playing, oh well, where is he from? He didn't get any picks. Did he play anybody good? Clemson was on fire last year.
It's true.
And I absolutely love this pick. This is probably my favorite pick in the draft, just based on knowing what Zimmer does, knowing what he is capable of molding him into. Everybody, and you know what the loser is of this, and I don't think it's going to be like as a loser of, oh, he's not going to play, or, oh, he's going to get not going to be on the team. Trey Waynes kind of went in the wayside because we kind of forgot about having him there. We have corners. We have depth at corner now, and that is one of the most important positions you can have depth at. Mike will tell you all day. He said it in many interviews. I'll take as many corners as I can have. I love this pick. I'm a huge fan.
Corner is one of the positions that I really feel that you can never have enough of because you can get hit with injuries so quick that you can go down your depth chart, and you just need to have the talent there to sustain any kind of potential injuries that can happen with the team. For McKenzie, kind of my early predictions for him is that I don't necessarily think he's going to get a lot of playing time this season, and that's not a bad thing because there is a lot of depth, and you got veterans over top of him that maybe they can continue to play well, and he doesn't need to see the field, and so he can contribute out there in special teams, maybe a few packages here or there. Maybe he's not even active for the first part of the season. But he will be one of those picks that when someone like a Terrence Newman finally does retire after this season, that next year you can see more of Mackenzie Alexander out there for the Vikings.
People worried about his hands need to watch him at the combine and his pro day and situations like that where the ball was thrown at him and he did show good ability to be able to catch a football. He can get interceptions. I don't think that he's going to go his entire pro career without an interception. I think he's got a lot better ball skills than people think, but then again, he does have to prove that on the field. So that's one thing that has to change. Let's give some shout-outs here in the chat. We got Bill Septon joining us, who has his buddy Wes with him watching. He wants a shout-out, so shout-out to Wes there. We got Tommy Gunn here, who's always a great guy to have in the chat, talking about Chris Cook just like I did. I couldn't help it. Then we got XKT over there talking about Sperano loving his tough offensive lineman, which we're going to be getting to in just a moment or two.
Talk about the Beaver.
Thank you guys for joining us on the chat.
Absolutely.
So Minnesota traded out of round 3. Our next pick came in round 4, number 121 overall, with everyone's favorite player, Willie Beavers. Hey, he's the guard, number 64 for Minnesota. Adam, I know you're going to have a hot take on Willie Beavers.
I don't like him.
I see the head shaking.
I don't like him. I don't like this pick where they took him. I felt it was a humongous reach. The problem is that he does have that physical nature. He does have a mean streak, but he doesn't have the kind of refinement or ability to get low, grind, be an anchor, have those soft feet to be able to move around. He doesn't have that. He's a big work in progress, and he's a guy that might have to be on the practice squad for a couple of years, and I don't know if that kind of development is worth it with the depth that they already have at guard. I don't know. I didn't really like the pick. I don't see him transitioning to be an offensive tackle in the NFL, even though that's where he played in college. I didn't like this pick.
After what the team had done in free agency, where I felt they did a really good job of addressing the offensive line, I assumed that if they were going to draft one, it would either be there was a phenomenal player that slid, and it was just so good of a value pick that you can't possibly pass on him, or more than likely, I was thinking like, hey, a late round 6 or 7 developmental practice squad guy. I was really shocked to see them go as high as round 4 for another guard because I didn't think that that was really a point of need for the team. Now, I'll be honest, I haven't gotten around to watching much tape yet on Willie Beavers. I've heard lots of what Twitter has said, lots of what you've said about him, Adam, that it doesn't seem to be a pretty popular pick.
When
we'll
what
see.
I think is matched by Pro Football Focus, that's usually not a very good sign.
Yeah.
Not a good sign at all.
One of my favorite picks for the draft is going to be coming up here. Round 5, number 160 overall. Kentrell Brothers, the linebacker from Missouri, number 40, jersey number 4, Minnesota. I've watched a lot of tape on him, and I am super excited to see this guy. He reminds me of Chad Greenway. It's like Chad Greenway light coming in for this team.
He's not a flashy guy. He's not fast. He reads what's in front of him and reacts. He doesn't make a lot of mistakes.
He's not going to miss tackles.
Yeah. If you want that kind of athleticism, the Vikings already have a lot of that in Kendricks and Barr. In Brothers, they could have a guy that develops into maybe a potential starter down the road and has that same skill set as Greenway to contribute and can do those other kind of things in run support and allow Kendricks and Barr to do other things. This, to me, was one of those picks that I think could have been much earlier in the draft. And the fact that he fell in the Vikings' lap and they were able to get him this late in the draft was really nice.
Definite diamond in the rough, in my opinion. And didn't he lead, like, his conference in tackles or something like that, Adam?
He did.
Yeah. So we were just talking about the Chad Greenway comparison, who's led the Vikings in tackles for the last, 10 years now or something like that. Here's another guy that, like you said, once he gets developed and going, he very well could be, again, here's your leading tackler for the team.
I like this as much as we didn't like the offensive line addition in the 4th round. I like this one a lot. And when I watched you talk about it in our chat that we always have on Facebook, I went and did some research, and you hit the nail on the head. You're not going to get a superstar, flashy, freaky, athletic guy, but just day in, day out, the job's going to get done. Maybe, like you said, maybe he comes on, he develops for a year or two. I mean, Barr and Kendricks are going to be already in their prime, and then you have a starter there who doesn't miss tackles. It's just, it makes you super excited, and now that you guys are talking about the value of it, it makes it even better. Can't believe he lasted this long and all the way to the 5th round.
And we already know that Chad's going to retire after this season, so they're kind of already starting to plan ahead for having potential depth to replace him after this year.
Absolutely, I think they found a great guy to develop for this year, have him grow along with Greenway to play alongside, find a little bit of that niche, because being a player that isn't super athletic in Zimmer's defense is difficult, and I think that if he watches Chad Greenway can model a little bit after that. I think that it's a player and a development where he can find his own role and his voice under that kind of guidance and leadership. So, exciting pick. I liked this one a lot.
Here is a fun one. This is the one that the media is talking about more than our 1st round pick. Everyone is talking about round 6, pick number 180. You guys know where I'm going. He's the wide receiver. He's the wide receiver from Germany, Adam. The German Randy Moss, if you will.
That's what they're saying.
You use that phrase. Mortiz Bowinger. Mobo for short. Kyle Smith, I see a head shake. I see a bit of a head shake.
I was waiting for it. No, I like this pick. I like the feel-good story that comes out of it. I hope everyone that has football knowledge of any level knows he's not going to come in and be your number 1 wide receiver. He's going to do some special team stuff. He's got a lot of things. I'll get the negative thing out of the way real quick. If you watch his tape, he looks like a beast. The talent that he was playing against, he looks like a man among boys. So I want to see how he does against these these corners that are really physical. I want to see what happens when he gets jammed at the line of scrimmage. But as far as athletic ability, this guy's a monster. He's 6'4". I don't know his weight. It dropped out just now as I'm talking about it. But he runs a 4.43. Now you talk about, if you want to go back to what we were talking about 40 times, I mean, this guy's huge and he's fast. So if he can figure it out and maybe just be molded, you never know. He could show up and be a number 6, maybe a number 5 on the team and have another feel-good story like Adam Thielen.
I don't know, man. I love that people are so excited about this pick. I do. And I love the story of him flipping on some YouTube highlights of Adrian Peterson and loving the Minnesota Vikings. I love that. All the story is fantastic. Hearing a little bit more about what's going on with how he became a football fan, great. The fact he loved the Minnesota Vikings, the Vikings brought him in for workouts, fantastic. I just don't think that now is the time to be calling him the next Randy Moss or anointing him as the next big thing in the NFL. Just taper those expectations a little bit.
Definitely. I don't know how you can not just instantly love the guy, because it's a great story.
Absolutely.
It's fun. It was fun the way it happened on TV. How often is round 6 of the NFL draft interesting? Not too often. And that was definitely like a period that was really entertaining, especially if you're a Vikings fan. Expectations for Mobo need to come back down to reality here a little bit. Kyle Smith, you hit the nail on the head. He looked like a freak of nature when he was playing in the German league, when he had guys that were my size trying to cover him. And he is twice as big and 3 times as fast, and he's running around and making them look like clowns. He's not going to do that to anybody, any corner on the Minnesota Vikings. He's not going to run through the defense. That's not going to happen. People on Twitter are talking about how, well, Laquan's going to lead the team in receiving yards, and Mobo's going to be the leading red zone target. That's not going to happen, guys.
No.
We have to get realistic. We have to get realistic about this.
Tommy Gunn in the chat's got a bold prediction.
What's the bold prediction?
He says that Mobo will beat out Adam Thielen for a roster spot.
That's not going to happen. Realistically, if he can make the practice squad this year, he has won. He has done an excellent job if he can make the practice squad. He will not be making the active 53 roster.
Practice squad would be a great place for him. Hone his craft. Just, learn the game a little bit better. He can refine his skills there because he's really raw.
He's young. He's only, 22?
Yeah.
You got all the time. You got all the time in the world with this kid to develop him. I think you can have him for 3 years on the practice squad. If they can stash him for 3 years and train him and turn him into a core special teams player, it's a good pick.
Yeah.
I think that's going to happen. I think he's going to make the practice squad. I think he needs to sit there, like you guys said, and learn. 2 things I want to say about this. Number 1, like you said, if you don't like the story, I think you need to check your pulse. He loves the Vikings. He saw AP, and he said, hey, I'm going to go play football, and he just happens to be a freak of nature athletically. This is still in leaps and bounds, in my opinion, better than the Cowboys pick. They drafted a freaking basketball player that hasn't played football since 8th grade, and he's in college. And people are crapping on this pick. I know a lot of people are blowing this pick out of proportion, saying, oh, this is great, he's the next Randy Moss, just talking out of their butts. But this is still leaps and bounds a better pick than the Cowboys picking a basketball player. I'm just going to leave that there.
The Vikings didn't hide that they love this guy. They did a lot of research on him, watched a lot of videos, reached out to him, and honestly, who knew he was? I didn't even know that you could apply for the draft if you didn't play college ball. I didn't know that. Apparently, you can just apply for the draft and do your thing.
You should do it. Which one of us is going to do it next year?
It ain't me.
I'm doing
it. For it.
I'm doing it. I'm going to be a long snapper.
You can do it. I
go to those regional combines.
Here's the thing about Mobo that he's definitely got working on his side, that you can say that even some former first-round draft picks didn't work or probably won't work as hard as what this kid will to make the roster. You're going to get someone who's going to give it his all every single day, day in and day out, every single practice, everything to try to make the squad. And it's exciting. I mean, it's fun. It's easy to get caught up in it, but just expectations for him, just kind of keep it low, folks.
I know the cool part, too, about it
is the hard-working players.
Oh, I'm sorry, Adam. We have the delay. Sorry, guys. Yeah, I think the cool part about it too. One of the things I found interesting, little nerd note. He was the first one to sign his contract to show his employment for the U.S., he had to sign his contract immediately so he could stay over here. So that was really cool. And I'm waiting on a Twitter video that says, hey, look, here's Mobo, and he's already in the weight room, or he's already over here studying, the playbook. I'm waiting to see it because I guarantee you if it hasn't happened already, it's going to happen like as early as this week. That would make me really happy.
I gotta disagree with Tommy Gunn, who says that Mobo won't make it past waivers to get to our practice squad. Is that he's one of those players that, boy, he would really have to light it up on the field for that to happen. Because when you bring players into training camp, a lot of times teams want to sign their own training camp players to their practice squad because they've been working with them, they know the system. And so for another team to poach him, they would really have to be thin at receiver, and he would have really had to flash and just made a large amount of plays for that to happen. Of course, that's just my opinion. Feel free to disagree.
True, it's just those roster spots there, wide receiver, they're going to be tough to come across. I know that we don't have the most exciting and dynamic group, but we got a lot of solid guys at wide receiver on the Vikings roster.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So for him to take a spot from a guy, and when you're looking at it, it would almost have to be Patterson or Thielen. If you still think of Patterson as a wide receiver, who knows?
That's why I didn't say anything.
But hey, who knows? Anything can happen. It's the NFL. I think we lost Kyle West. We did.
I think we might have. I'll let you go. I don't have a computer in front of me, so I'll let you run down these picks and we can keep going.
In round 6, pick 188, the Minnesota Vikings went with David Morgan, tight end out of Texas San Antonio, who will wear number 89, much like John Carlson did in the past. Good old John Carlson. I got my 89 jerseys. Yes. Morgan is one of those guys that he will come in. He's going to be a sort of bruising tight end, but he also does have those sneaky good hands. I don't know how the Vikings find these guys, but it's really nice because they can sneak out and get those little passes. We saw the same thing with Rhett Ellison, who's struggling with an injury to come back. And maybe he'll be able to come back and be strong. Maybe he'll need some help going forward and not be able to play a lot this year. Because of that, a pick like David Morgan could be really valuable to this team.
I didn't do a lot of research on these guys. Not really having as much time this year to go ahead and dig into the picks that we have. But I was very curious to see which type of tight end he was, to see if he was going to be one of those pass catchers or if he's going to be one of those bruisers. And it's not a surprise at all that we picked up a bruiser, that you would say, or as you like to call him, Adam. So I really, really like that, especially seeing as how we lost a tight end last year, and now we have one struggling with injury. So
he graded out as the best blocking tight end in the draft. He also can play fullback. So who knows? Maybe Zach Line might be on the line. You never know.
Hey, don't ruin our fantasy points.
Zach Line equals production. We all know that. And we just
I don't know what happened.
If the host of our call drops out, we don't lose connection to the call, so that's good.
Hey, that's awesome. Yeah, just all of a sudden my Google Hangout thing was like, hey, guess what? You're not connected no more. I don't know what happened.
You're not allowed to talk about David Morgan.
Yeah, you know what? I was speaking illy of Mobo there at the tail end of it, and it was just like, nope, can't do it. David Morgan, really quick. Rhett Ellison insurance. You know, Rhett had a little bit of injuries and whatnot, so obviously that's where that pick can come from. Also, you can never really have enough tight ends as well, too. Be really tough though for him to make the roster. We can move on to round 7, pick number 227. Stephen Weatherly, defensive end from Vanderbilt, going to wear number 64 for Minnesota.
He needs a lot of work. He's slower than a lot of the other defensive ends. He's not the kind of Everson Griffin kind of explosive player. He's strong, but he needs to refine his game. He needs to get some more moves, and that's why he was still available late in the draft. But if anyone can take these defensive ends and be able to mold them into something productive, it's going to be this Minnesota Vikings coaching staff. And let's be honest, for a 7th-round pick, he may not even make the roster, but if he can, it's just a big bonus.
I will freely admit to not having done any research on him yet. So I will agree with Adam.
Circle gets the square.
Yes, totally. We also had another 7th-round pick, number 244, Jaron Curse? Question mark?
It's Curse.
Yeah, there we go. I know what I'm talking about. Hey, there's your safety pick from Clemson. You're going to wear number 27 from Minnesota. Will the 7th-round rookie make a big impact for the team, Adam?
No.
No.
Nope, he's sloppy. He's poor in coverage. He's going to need a lot of work and development. That's not saying he's a bad player. He's got a lot of athleticism, and maybe that could translate into something down the line, but I wouldn't expect anything from him anytime soon. Still, it's a 7th-round pick, so you kind of got to gamble. And to be honest, he is a gamble. He is. He's a wild card that you don't know really what you're going to get, and that's why he lasted so long in this draft.
I don't know many 7th-round picks you wouldn't call a gamble. It's fine, though.
Well, there are the more surefire 7th-round picks, the ones that have refined their talents and they've got the lower ceiling and the higher floor. Curse is one of those players whose floor is very low, but his ceiling is very high as well. So it's going to be somewhere in there. To me, that's what the gamble is, not that his skill set is poor or anything. It's just I don't really know what to expect from him. That's the big question there.
Mm-hmm. And then, of course, after the draft, you always have the rush to sign your undrafted free agents, which I have.
Many.
Yes, I have the list in front of me as well. Real quick, we can go through them. I don't really know how in-depth we can get, so I'll just kind of speed through them, and any opinions you guys got, we can shoot out here at the end. Cornerback, Keith Baxter. Tight end, Kyle Carter. Defensive end, boy, I should have practiced this. Tyreen Cochran. Hey, he's from Minnesota. Golden Gopher. We like that. Linebacker, Jake Ganas from Georgia. Wide receiver, Markel